Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am showing y'all how I made this Halloween wreath that's sort of a Day of the Dead, sugar skull inspired wreath using things from the Dollar Tree and from Hobby Lobby. So I started out with a wire wreath form, 9 bunches of roses, a skeleton, and then a few optional supplies like spray paint, acrylic paints, fabric, and I also had some doll hair and some little paper roses. So I started by popping all the roses off of their stems and hot gluing them onto the wreath form. And I started in the center track. There's like 3 tracks. I did the center track first, and then I went into the inner and outer tracks and just sort of like filled in here and there. And I did use every single rose, just it, had room for all of them. So it actually worked out really perfectly. And then I took it outside and I spray painted it black, but I didn't completely cover the red. I wanted to just kind of darken it up. This step's totally optional. If you want your roses to be bright red, by all means leave them bright red, or if you want to just buy black roses and make it all the way black, it's up to you. I just kind of wanted this sort of like red and black feel. So I spray painted it and then let it sit outside to dry for a couple hours and brought it inside. Then I transformed my skeleton into a Day of the Dead inspired skeleton. The skeleton's from the Dollar Tree, and I just darkened the eye sockets and used pink, purple, and teal, and just sort of did like a sugar skull inspired design using a few photos off Google as inspiration. And for this part, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just, whatever you feel like doing. My Dollar Tree does usually sell those wire wreath forms. I think they were sold out or something. I couldn't find any this time, so I ended up getting mine at Hobby Lobby for like less than $2. But if you can find that wreath form at your Dollar Tree and get the roses from your Dollar Tree and the skeleton from your Dollar Tree, you could literally stop there and have yourself a Dollar Tree DIY wreath. All this other stuff is totally optional. So I just painted her up and made her look like a sugar skull. And then I built some clothes. I used a piece of glittery canvas. This is from Hobby Lobby. If you're looking for it, it's where the felt is. And I sort of sketched out a sweetheart neckline and cut that shape out. And basically what I'm going to do is build clothes onto the skeleton. So it's not like I'm actually making a dress that I'm going to dress her in. I'm just hot gluing fabric onto her so it looks like she's wearing a dress. So I just wrapped that around, and then I wanted the waist of it to be tighter. I mean, she's a skeleton. She's got a tiny waist, right? So I cut a strip just to make a little slit, and then I used the elastic string that was holding the tag onto her head, and I tied that in a knot just to sort of cinch in the waist. And that was sort of the base of my dress. And then I used some things from the Trim by the Yard section at Hobby Lobby and sort of built some clothes for her. And I think you'll kind of see what I mean. Like, this is all just, built on top and everything like that. So I built her a tiered skirt. I wanted her skirt to go all the way to her feet, and that glitter canvas was not long enough to do that. So I just made her a 3-tiered skirt by cutting out strips of this elastic lace and just kind of like building her 3 tiers from the bottom up. I don't remember if I did a 1/6 of a yard or a 1/4 of a yard of this particular one. But it wasn't very much of the trim at all, and it was only like $3 a yard, so this was not very expensive, this part at all. And then the top tier of her skirt goes all the way up to her waist. Then I used this little scrap of trim. This was an 1/8 of a yard, which is the smallest cut Hobby Lobby will do. And I made a shawl for her just to cover her shoulders in case she gets cold, and just laid her on top of it and then just hot glued it to kind of keep it wrapped around her arms. And then I gave her some hair. I got this hair at Hobby Lobby in the doll making section. It wasn't very expensive at all. I feel like it was less than $2 for the bag. And I've never worked with doll hair, so I may be doing this the wrong way, but it worked for what I needed it to do. I put a big glob of hot glue on top of her head and just held some hair over the top of her head. And then I put a couple little strips of glue and cut some of the curls and kind of coiled them up and just kind of glued them in place to give her more of like a ringlet look. and just, you know, kind of played around with it until I was happy with how she looked. Then I used these little paper flowers. These are also from Hobby Lobby in the scrapbooking section, and I glued those onto her head to give her a flower crown. And I burned myself. I glued a flower to my hand. I'm telling y'all, I hurt myself all the time when I'm crafting. Um, so I gave her flower crown, and then I had a little bit of the trim left over from building her skirt, and I decided that she needed a black veil. So I just put some hot glue on that and basically just glued it in place. And I think you'll kind of see what I mean. Like, this is just one of those projects where you're just sort of building it as you go. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Then I laid her onto the wreath and kind of positioned her where I wanted her, and used a little bit of hot glue to hold her in place. And then I did want for her to be extra secure. I didn't ever want to come home and the wreath is hanging on the door and she's laying on the porch. So I used some wire to wrap like her leg around the wire part of the frame, and then also I think I did it around her waist. I did it on one other part too, above her hips. And if you don't have floral wire, you could use something like sandwich ties or yarn or anything, just something to give it a little bit of extra security. And then I glued her hands together. And then I did use some clear acrylic spray, and I kind of blasted her face in those flowers just so that it was nice and weatherproofed. And that was it. I hung it on the door and it was done. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you have requests for future DIY videos, leave those in the comment section down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'd love to have y'all stick around. I'll see you on my next video. Bye.